hey, this short training here is going to have a huge impact on your sales process and the efficiency of it and ultimately the growth of your company. This is a topic I love talking about and teaching because it's kind of underlooked. I think most people just think, most people get overexcited about getting new leads and more traffic, right? As, thinking that more traffic is always going to lead to more sales. Obviously it does, right? But they're, looking at each step of the funnel, looking at each step of the sales process and just improving the conversion rates is sometimes even a way easier and also cheaper than getting new traffic, right? To get more ultimately sales. So this is about the lead to appointment process. So basically what happens from after you get a lead to the booked appointment, right? Now, so there's a few different components in this. And just to explain these stats here, optimizing your lead to appointment process is going to give you a higher lead to appointment ratio, meaning more of the leads you get will book a call. It improves the show rate, meaning if you do this right, more people will actually show up to the call because nobody likes no-shows, right? And also improves the close rate. A lot of closing deals and making sales isn't really about just what you say on the call. You can win a lot of the battle before the call, right? So best case scenario is a lead is showing up to the call as warmed up as possible. Now, not every lead is going to show up to the call super warm. Even if you do all this, there's still going to be some that come in a bit colder, right? But ideally, you want to do everything that's in your control to stack the deck so that more leads are showing up to your call ready, informed, having a high intent, and ideally having some objections pre-handled, which we'll talk about as well. And all this leads to money in the bank, right? But there's so much gold in this process, right? I think, for me, most people I've worked with, most businesses I've worked with and helped out here, I find that usually their mind defaults to two things. If we want to make more sales, we need more traffic, right? More leads, or we need to be better at sales. Like we need to improve our sales skills on the call, do more training. All those things are great, but these things are so neglected and sometimes can just be really quick fixes to install in your process. So at the end of the day, a lot of these ideas here could be simple things you can do or changing your process that could lead to huge results and even like grow your business a lot more than just, doubling the traffic, right? Which is, sometimes hard to do and sometimes expensive. So that said, there's three aspects to what's going to improve your lead to appointment ratio, show rate, and close rate. There's the campaign and funnel. There's the sales rep procedure, like how the lead is worked. And then there's the pre-call process as well. So campaign and funnel means, how did this lead originate in the first place, right? Because even if you have a really great sales process, if the campaign wasn't targeting the right people, then of course you're going to have a high no-show rate. A lot of leads won't book in. You might have a low close rate, right? So first you want to make sure all of the underlying campaign foundations are in order. And if you're dealing with, if you're just improving a funnel right now and there's an agency running this for you, then at least you can have a conversation with them to make sure all this is in order, or maybe it already is, right? But that said, there's the campaign quality, which is target the right people who need your service, right? Messaging, and then the offer. Honestly, a lot of these other things are just cherries on top, right? Like there's a lot of people I find obsess over things like email and SMS nurture and having reminders go out before the call. And yes, those things will all help show rate, but the underlying principles are so important because if you're targeting people that are the right persona, it's the right company, and they have the problem you solve, and your messaging and offer communicates value and urgency, as in it helps people understand, oh wow, these guys can really help me solve an important problem, and they're going to do a great job with it, and it's a different or a unique solution. Then at the end of the day, you could even drop the ball on a lot of these things, like not following up much, not having automated email, SMS nurture. You could drop the ball on a lot of that, and you'll still have a lot of people show up to the call and close because you're reaching the right person that has the right intent, and you're reaching them with the right offer, right? And of course, you're using the right messaging to convey all that. So that's all, really a part of the marketing equation, but can't talk about sales without talking about marketing, right? I'm a big believer that they both need to be very closely married together. So anyways, I'm going to use cold email as the example here, right? But if you're running a cold email campaign, got to target the right people, have the right message, and have the right offer for them, which really you just find through a lot of testing, right? Then it's the positioning of the call. So, once you get a lead, right, it's important that the initial messaging, whether it's an email or an ad, communicates the value of a call, right? So it's one thing to say free consultation. Everybody says that, right? But there's no inherent value in a free consultation. All people see here is like, oh my God, sales pitch, and I'm going to have to spend an hour of my time with something I might not even like. A lot of times the reason people don't show up to a call is because, there's ultimately just two reasons someone wouldn't show up to a sales call. They got busy or forgot, or they didn't see that it was important enough to be worth their time, aka something else happened that day that was more important, right? So if I have a really busy day and I only have a free consultation with some company that emailed me that I completely forgot about, and I don't even remember what it's for, like I might be canceling that call, right, or rescheduling it, right? And I'm nice. I reschedule or cancel. Most people aren't nice, and they're gonna just no-show, right? But that said, if you change free consultation to, personalized consult to discuss X, Y, and Z, and share insights from how we're helping other companies in your niche do X, Y, Z, that's even better, right? Or if the call itself is a lead magnet, they get something, an audit, free deliverable, free strategy, etc. So basically, the framing of the call in the first place is so important. And when you're following up and emailing people or texting them and reminding them about the call, you have to keep the same framing, right? Because again, if I have a free consultation in my calendar, I know that it might not be worth my time, right? But if I know, I have this consultation, but it's framed as something unique, like a personalized consult, or like strategy call has been a little bit overused now, but you can frame it something along those. It could be growth session, right? It could be marketing planning session, right? Whatever you sell. So first, name it something cool and different, and also discuss what they're going to get out of the call, right? So the goal should always be that people feel like if they show up to a call with your company, if someone shows up to a call with my company, I'm always making it known that even if they don't hire us, they're going to leave the call better than when they came in. They're going to get some value, some resource, some insights, whatever it is, right? So this has to be really, really clear. And this probably already happens anyway in your sales process, but you have to make this really, really, really clear, right? It's because it doesn't matter if you know it, it matters if the prospect knows it, right? And communication isn't about what you say, it's about what the other person hears. So whatever value is happening on your sales call, extract that and say this in every single interaction, right? Also, you can also make the call itself a lead magnet, right? Audit, free deliverable, free strategy, forecast, wireframe, right? Whatever it is, whatever you can do for someone on as far as a lead magnet. If the call itself is a lead magnet, that's going to be even better. So if you're inviting someone to a call, you're saying, hey, this call is going to be to audit your current campaigns, or it's going to be to audit your current finances or your financial forecast, like whatever you sell, right? If they're actually getting something tangible on the call, the show rate's going to be through the roof, and you're going to close a lot more deals. But anyways, if your call is just a regular sales call, at least frame it as like the value they're going to get, right? And this is also very intentional. X, Y, and Z would be benefits and problem solved, and share insights between how we're helping other companies in your niche do this, this, and this. This is really, really good framing for the pre-call process, because this communicates, hey, we're already helping other companies in your space do awesome things, and you're missing out, right? And you're going to get these insights on the call as well. So this builds social proof, this builds curiosity, this builds desire, like so many things. And people always want to know what their peers are doing, right? So I like this framing a lot. Anyways, positioning the call is important. Also the form friction. The more questions, I would say, let's see. So the quantity of questions, difficulty of questions, and also how do we say this? Like the nature of the question. Like if you ask someone how much money is in your bank account right now, that's a difficult question for them to answer. Not difficult like it's hard. So a difficult question would be, hey, what's your sales data for the last 65 days on your show rate, right? If you were selling a sales offer or business coaching offer, right? Difficult because they'd have to track down that data, right? And when I say the nature of the question, that's like a personal question, right? Like, again, how much money is in your bank account? So any questions that are going to be really hard to answer, like that's going to lose you leads. That's going to lower this lead to appointment, which means you'll get leads. They'll make it to book a call with you, but then they won't book in, right? And then if you have a lot of questions, statistically, it's been pretty proven that the more questions you have in a form, the lower likely is someone books. Now, that's not always a bad thing. It depends what you're optimizing for. If you want to optimize for volume, then have 0 questions. If you want to optimize for, I would never have 0. I'd always have at least 2 or 3. But if you want to optimize for quality, like let's say you only want to do 3 sales calls a week, but they're ultra qualified, then have 20 questions. One of our clients, actually a life coach I worked with for a long time, I was her client as well, and I got to see inside her sales process. She had me fill out like an hour-long assessment before the sales call. So by the time I got to the sales call, I was like, I'm definitely signing with this person, right? Like I'm so committed by this point. So you could even have like, you could keep this as well. If you do want like ultra qualified, you'll just lose bookings, right? But anyways, the point is we're at least just talking about having a higher lead to appointment ratio, which means more of our leads book in. So if we're just talking volume, then you want minimal of this, right? And then also the this isn't really friction, but form messaging. Like there should be a little blurb that also blurb with sales copy to get them excited for the call, right? That's kind of even on positioning the call, but anyways. Also, available options to book. So Alex Shimozy did a pretty cool study because he has a SaaS company, Alan, that has a lot of data on sales processes. Like they help local businesses book more calls. And he found that the one of the surprising stats when they analyzed all this data was that the available options to book had a massive impact on people booking in and the throughput, right? So the number of spots available, right? So if you have only a few spots available and it's only for a few days, you're going to have less people book in, right? If you have the next 4 weeks booked out, if you have the next 4 weeks free with 8 hours a day and weekends, you're going to get a lot more bookings. Now, this also could lead to no-shows, so it's a balance, right? But I mean, honestly, like personally speaking, I would rather have more people book and then deal with no-shows later because you can just call them and confirm and do other things, right? So basically, like my strategy would be get more people to book in. I wouldn't go this extreme, right? Maybe like the farthest I would do is 2 weeks. But the more people book in is better because then you have them booked in. They're taking the next step in the funnel, and then you can at least do other things to mitigate no-shows, like all this cool stuff down here I'm going to show you. So, long story short, the more options someone has when they click on your calendar to book, the more likely they're going to book something. And also, they even found that the increments work too. So they found that more people booked in if they had increments of 15 versus 30 minutes, right? Meaning, like when you create your scheduler, you can have someone book at like 8, 8:30, 9. But if you have 8, 8:15, 8:30, they actually saw more calendar bookings come through, which is insane. Like a small tweak like that, but it makes sense. Everything in sales, I always like to think about the mindset of the prospect, right? Everything's about reverse engineering what people are thinking at each step in their buyer's journey, right? So think about this here, right? Why would someone book in 8:15 but not 8:30? Well, maybe they have a meeting that ends at 8:15 and they have another meeting that starts at 8:30, right? So for someone who's really busy, if you're dealing especially with a B2B audience, then more, that would be really useful. So this is important too. The more, the better. Cool. We haven't even talked about the sales procedure yet, but this is really cool because this is just setting up for a big win. All of the like underlying campaign and funnel structure. Now, sales or procedures. So now, if we're talking about leads coming in, you have a lot of leads coming in. You have cold email campaigns running, and leads are coming in daily, right? What can you do as a sales rep to actually make sure more of those leads turn into calls, right? Because this is really important. First, speed to lead. Also, this was a big part of Alex Shimozy's study, where they found speed to lead was really important, and there's been a lot of data on this, right? So I don't have the exact graph here. I saw this on my email a long, long time ago. But basically, there was like a 10x increase in leads that book a call if they are contacted within 5-10 minutes of being originated. So basically, like imagine a graph. I wish I had it. It's years ago. It would take me forever to dig it up. But essentially, like there's been a lot of studies and different graphs around this. But imagine a graph where it's just going up and up and up, and that just means the amount of leads that are like lost or don't book a call because of time going by, right? So on one side, the more time that goes by, the more leads you lose and don't convert, right? And it's like a really sharp increase. So, I mean, really aim to reply within 30 minutes, right? But if you can, like try to reply in 5 to 10 minutes, right? 5 to 10 minutes is ideal because think about it, back to the mindset of the prospect. If I email you and you respond, hey, I'm interested, let's have a call. And then I email you back like 2 minutes later with links to book in a time with me, you're probably still staring at your email inbox. Whereas if I email you back the next day, a lot of sales reps, like they'll reply back a day or two later, right? The next day, if I email you back, you might see my email, completely forget who I was or what you were talking to me about, right? Or you just lost interest, you didn't care about it. Where in the moment, you were in the emotion, you were excited, you saw the benefit, right? So speed to lead is really important, and you can just do this with automation, right? You can set up a Zapier so that lead comes in and you get a Slack message or a text or an email with the lead's information and their phone number to call, right? So this is not very hard to do. Automation helps a lot because otherwise you'd have to like check this constantly, right? So definitely set up some automation there. Then there's the quality of the response. Just use the AA framework, acknowledge, answer, ask. So basically whenever someone replies, so we're gonna use email as an example, right? If someone replies to an email saying, hey, this sounds good, I have a question about this, you acknowledge what they say. Hey, that's great. Yeah, appreciate you reaching back out. And that's a really great question, right? Just make them feel heard. And then that also makes it feel not templated or robotic. People always want to feel like they're talking to a person, right? So always just talk like you would actually talk to a colleague or a client, right? Then you answer whatever their question was, and then you ask one again. And usually the ask is going to be, let's book a call, right? So you're going for like the call to action again. basically look at the sales process as fractal, right? Everything in sales is like the same. Like everything is a series of steps to get someone to the next step. You're always selling the next step, right? So yes, you're ultimately selling a lead into signing with you, but along the way, there's all these mini sales, right? And it gets more and more fractal. So even replying to an email and getting someone to take the next step, that's a sales process, right? Where you have to still follow the same principles of acknowledge what they said, answer their concern or objection, and ask for the sale and have a call to action, right? So simple framework to remember. Personalization helps too. I've replied to some emails. I've replied to some cold emails before, and or just had other communications with salespeople if I've like opted into an ad or something. And a lot of times I just can tell what they're sending back as templated. Like I even told someone recently, "Oh, this software tool sounds cool." I got a cold email about a SaaS tool, and I was like, "This sounds really cool. Just so you know, I'm going to be too busy for a call the next 2 weeks, but I'm happy to like watch a video or something." And then he responded back saying, "Great, would you like to book a call?" And like that just bothered me, right? It's like I don't feel listened to, and now I have to spend my time retyping out an email to him, right? So, long story short, I ended up not booking a call with that guy. But personalization helps. Take 2 minutes, pull up their website, pull up their LinkedIn profile, find something you can say. It could even be personal, right? We even had a great example with this. Is one of our appointment setters, Fatima. We were selling like a business coaching offer, and she had looked at the person's LinkedIn profile and saw that the guy was a soccer dad. Like he was like a coach for his kid's soccer team. And he said, and in the email she wrote, "Hey, just like you're a coach for your kid's soccer team, we'd be a coach to you to help you with your marketing," right? So just little things like that go a long way because it makes people feel like you care and you give a shit, which is like that. Like, I mean, aside from this whole document, that's I hope your biggest takeaway is just actually care and give a shit about the prospect, right? Those little things you can do just make a huge, huge difference. So personalization helps. And also the personal example I mentioned of like a personal life thing, that's also cool. It makes someone feel like special, but also, business, like look for business stuff too, right? Look for business problems. So if you look on LinkedIn and you see that they're currently hiring for a new account manager or they're hiring for a new CFO, maybe that has some relevance to like why you're reaching out in your product, and you can mention that too, right? Let's say you were selling like a financial software. You could say, "Oh, I just saw you're hiring a new CFO. Well, on the call, we could talk about how your new CFO could use this and how it could save them time," right? So that's going to make it, like the chance of someone booking after that is going to go way up. And also use assets, case studies, testimonials, VSLs, whatever you have. I recommend keeping your email very, very short, very short. And if you want to give them more information, link to other things. You don't want a really long wall of text because then people are just going to skim it, right? Because when people are in their email inbox, or even if you're talking to them through like a text message or a LinkedIn DM, it's even worse, right? Like they're busy, they're looking at a lot of conversations, and they're not going to read this huge essay. So keep it short, and you can use assets if you want more information. Now, next is follow-up cadence. More times, more places is the mantra. So lead comes in, they respond to your outbound campaign or whatever you're doing. Follow up more times, more places. So basically, everyone that replies, so people are going to say, "Hey, I want more information, let's have a chat." You're going to email them back, with the AA framework. It's a personalization, and then you're going to give them a link to book in. What you'll find is a lot of people still don't book in, right? So you need to follow up, right? We get a lot of booked calls just from following up with people that replied to our email months ago, and we just keep on them, right? So I would follow up every 2 to 3 days via email. I'm just using email because we're a cold email agency. That's most of what we work with, but you can, these same principles apply if you have funnels or marketing campaigns on other platforms too, right? Basically, like wherever you first spoke to them, reply there every few days, right? And then the spacing increases over time. You don't like follow up every 2 days for eternity for the next 60 years, right? Like you would just space this out over time. Maybe then it's once a week, maybe once a month, then once a quarter, right? But for the first couple weeks, follow up pretty often. And then more places. Connect with that. So basically, as soon as the lead comes in, they go into your follow-up cadence for email, and this is personalized follow-up. Then you should connect with them on LinkedIn, and you can also even call them as well. And back to automation, you can have an automation go to your Slack channel, go to your sales rep. They can call them right away with their phone number to book them in, right? And whatever else you can think of. Send them direct mail. Retarget them on Facebook, right? Upload a custom audience. Upload an email list as a custom audience to Facebook or Instagram, right? Show up at their doorstep, whatever you can do. So more times, more places. Ultimately, at least referring to outbound campaigns like email, LinkedIn, we've seen as high as 50, 60, 70% of leads actually book in a call, which is way higher than normal because we've had a lot of campaigns where only 10, maybe 15% of people book in a call. Now our benchmark is like 25 to 30%, so we like at least a quarter of the leads to book in. But if you do all these things and you also have a sales rep that can call someone, like you can easily get over half, which is pretty insane. Because imagine that. Imagine you go from getting 10% of your leads to book a call to 50%. You're basically getting 5 times as many calls, which means 5 times as much sales, right? 5 times as many sales. That's growing your business 5 times without spending $1 more on traffic or leads or marketing, right? That's why I love talking about this stuff. It's so underlooked and useful and high leverage. Anyways, these are what you can do from a sales rep perspective and a follow-up process to get more leads booked in. Now to the pre-call process. This is really more about warming up the leads. So my belief is that you don't just find quality leads, you can create them. Meaning, like some people are resistant to cold outbound, like cold email, cold call, LinkedIn DM, because they're like, oh, well, these leads don't know me. They're going to be really hard to close. That's a problem that you can solve, right? You can make the lead know you between when they've booked in and when they actually show up, right? So that's why I say you don't just find quality leads, right? You create them. You can turn a cold lead into a warm lead just by having a warm-up process, right? So the pre-call process is about a few things. It's about increasing show rate, increasing the close rate, and just even like the quality of the lead, like weeding out anyone who's not a good fit, right? So it's also like a qualification process in itself. So if you do the pre-call process right, people are going to show up to your calls more, and they're going to be like ready to buy, right? Like we've had some clients just show up to a call just being like, hey, like I already know I want to do this. Like this sales experience was super amazing. I've researched you for hours, right? Like, and let's do this. And they just have some like final questions, right? So that's not going to happen every time, definitely not. But you can get more of your leads to be farther down the sales process, farther down the buyer's journey, just if you kind of cover all these bases as well. So thank you page, after someone books in, bring them to a thank you page, which has a video to connect, build rapport, and hype up the value of the call, and then remind them of the research they should do ahead of time to increase TOB, time on brand. Basically meaning someone books a call, they go to a thank you page, a video of you talking for 3 minutes, face to camera, just to basically build that connection memorability, right? So here's the thing. We mentioned before that a lot of people no-show to sales calls because they just forget about them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we are inundated. We see like 6,000 to 10,000 marketing messages a day now, right? And couple that with social media, couple that with being on WhatsApp and Slack and Google Meets and email and texting and Signal and like all these things are crazy, right? Like we live in such a just information overloaded time. And so it's even worse now, right? So why people no-show sometimes is because maybe they clicked an ad and they booked a call with you. Maybe they responded to your email and booked a call with you, but then they just forgot about it, right? Because think about it, like you're doing a million things on your phone. You look at an ad real quick, you book a call, you just forget about it, right? It's normal, right? So it's understandable. So when they actually watch a video of you, then they're gonna be more likely to remember you, your face, your brand, because now you actually have you've connected with them, right? So rather than just being at this quick experience where they just booked in and didn't really like they kind of did it maybe mindlessly sometimes, now they're gonna actually remember you because they're sitting there spending time with your brand, right? So yeah, like we retain, when we watch a video, we retain, it's like 3 to 4 times the information versus if we just read something, right? So basically when you read something, that's one level of retention. Usually they say you only retain about 10% of what you read. But then if you listen to something like a podcast or an audio, that's 20%, right? And then with the video, it's like 30 to 40%. So basically it just helps them remember you, but also it makes them excited and it makes them feel like, sometimes sometimes people are nervous for sales calls, right? If they're not always sure that they want to meet with some company, or if they're not sure if they want to buy, they might get nervous. Like, oh, I don't know if I want to meet this person right now. They might try to convince me into buying this thing, right? Especially if someone's more like introverted or like passive, and they've been like, a lot of prospects have went out to sales calls before and had some slick sales guy or saleswoman make them buy something they didn't actually need, right? So sometimes people just get cold feet before a sales call, and a video will kind of really make them connect with you, right? So like this should not be like a VSL. This should just be like a casual video, you talking to them and just getting them excited about meeting with the company, right? Anyways, also remind them to research you ahead of time. So on the thank you page, there should be links below. Plus, you should tell them you're going to get an email and a text message with more resources, and tell them why they should research you ahead of time. Give them a reason. People are more likely to do something if they just have a reason. It doesn't even matter what that reason is, right? There's been a lot of studies about this. There was a really great marketing study around how Some people in an office were asked to like make copies, so they were like, "Hey, can I cut you on the copy line?" Right? And then in scenario 1 or in group 1, they just said, "Hey, can I cut you?" A lot of people said no. Scenario 2, people said, "Hey, can I cut you because of like this silly reason, like my daughter's having a recital tonight, right?" Like basically an irrelevant reason. And then group 3 was saying, "Hey, can I cut you because I have this report due in an hour?" So like a legitimate reason. And they found that the likelihood of someone allowing this person to cut them in line was so much higher in scenario 2 and 3, and they were pretty similar. So even if they give them a ridiculous reason that had nothing to do with the request, just the fact that there was a reason, people were like, "Oh, okay." So when you're telling people to do things like research you, give them a reason, right? Tell them, give them a legitimate reason. You don't have to make up a ridiculous one, but a legitimate reason would be, "Hey, if you spend 10 minutes to research us before the call, then you're going to know so much more about our brand, and we can skip the boring sales pitch, and we can just make the call shorter and more efficient and spend more time focused on you and helping you with your situation," right? That's what I'd recommend for, like, you could just use that exact script, right? So, and it's actually true. If they know more about your company, you could talk more about actually helping them, right? And then also hype up the value of the call, so back to the tangible value, right? Then automated email and SMS nurture. They should get emails and text before the call with reminders and also content to increase time on brand. So we all know that people need to spend a lot of time with your brand. It's been said that people need to have an average of 7 hours spent with your brand before they can buy from you, right? Doesn't have to be 7 hours in sales calls. Most of that could be listening to YouTube or watching a podcast or reading your website, right? But you want them to spend more time associating with your brand because that's just going to draw them closer to becoming a closed deal. So automated email and SMS nurture, we would usually do like 24 hours out, 3 hours out, 1 hour out. I would do like a confirmation or this. You don't want to like blow them up too much. Also, now this would be for email. For SMS, I would just send like 1 or 2 because if you get too many text messages, it can be a little bit invasive and that can also turn people off. So emails are fine for more, but SMS, I would keep it limited to 1 or 2. Anyways, in the email and SMS, you're going to remind them about the call, where it's going to take place, what it's for, the benefit. So remember, you're always selling. One of my mantras in sales and marketing is you never stop selling. Just because someone agrees to book a call with you doesn't mean that they are going to still remember the benefit, right? Just because someone tells you on a call that they're going to hire you or your company or buy your product or service doesn't mean they're going to. Like every single interaction should be an opportunity to reintroduce the value, right? Reintroduce the message. So every email and SMS nurture should really contain, "Hey, you're going to meet with us this time, this date, this location, and we're going to speak about X, Y, and Z and how we can help you X, Y, and Z," right? And then also link them to content. This could just be one video, or if you have a couple links, that's fine too. I've made the mistake of having too many links in an email, and now I found that it's like ideally just give them one link to go to. So if you can make one video that covers all this, that's going to be best. Is have like a pre-call VSL, right? What do you want to know before the call? It just depends on, again, exactly where they're at in the sales process. So always think about where someone is at mentally at each step in the sales process, right? Think about yourself. If you hop on a call with a company to learn about their product or service, you're wondering like, what do they do? Why does it work? How does it help? Maybe you're wondering about the company, like, are these guys legit? Have they helped anyone else in my industry? And also you might have some objections, right? And you might be thinking about the time, the cost, the whatever. So your content, whatever you tell them to read or watch before the call, should answer all of this. What is it you do? Why does it matter to them? And how are you going to specifically help them? Tell them about your company, just a little bit, right? Just enough for them to be excited to meet with you. And have some social proof, for example, so that they know that you've helped other people just like them, right? And then optional is proactively address objections. So if you know, like whatever the common objections are, that should be answered in this video too, because then they're going to come to the call and they're going to be less likely to give you that objection, which means it's less work on the salesperson, right? Now again, not everybody, maybe only 30% of people actually are going to read or watch the stuff you send them. That's fine. Most people are not. But at least the ones that do are going to be much easier to convert and show up. Optional as well, but recommended. I recommend you do all this stuff here, but this is at least the parts that like you could live without if everything else is done right. I mean, honestly, most of this, I find most companies are doing like 1% of what's on this sheet here. But anyways, I don't want you having a million things to do at once. So some of these things that are optional are just, this could be like a phase 2 thing if you want to just focus on a couple of these other foundational pieces first. Personalized follow-up is great. Call them before the call to confirm and build rapport. Send a personal text or email ahead of time. So you can call them ahead of time, send them a personal text or an email, and personalize it, right? Hey, John, I just saw your booking for tomorrow. I went ahead and researched your company. I really think we're going to be a great fit to help you out because I saw that, this, and this happened. And I'm looking forward to sharing a couple of ideas I have with you tomorrow at 9 a.m., right? Whatever it is. So that's going to make a huge, huge difference. And also, if you call them the day before, you can even do a little bit of discovery, right? So when I used to work in in-person sales, I used to work at a big construction company, and we did like in-person sales, like residential. So I would meet homeowners face-to-face. And this was like, seven years ago now, but we did this really cool process where we would book an appointment, right? Let's say I booked an appointment for Saturday to come to someone's house and like quote their, construction project. I would show up a day before the call and I would give them a little packet of information. And the packet of information, like it's for them to read. So it's basically like the pre-call content, right? But also the main benefit of me showing up at their house a day before was I would just bullshit with them. I would just talk with them, right? And I would even ask them a little bit of questions and do a little bit of kind of subtle discovery, right? So because I was at their house giving them this packet, it was an excuse to just talk more, get to know them a little bit better, ask them a few questions, and just get them excited for tomorrow. Now, when I had showed up to someone's house and they were there and they received the packet of information and they talked to me for 10 minutes, like the increase in the people showing up to the call or the appointment prepared and signing was through the roof. I even had one time where I was giving someone the presentation about like how we were going to help do their construction project, and the guy actually sat there and he closed my presentation. Like he reached over across the table and closed my little like sales pitch book, and I was like, oh shit, like did I say something wrong? But actually he was like, look man, I read everything you sent to me, and I already know your company's good and I want to hire you, so can we just skip to like the pricing of the contract? So I was like, he basically sold himself in the pre-call process. So that's why what you do before the sales call is so important, and how much of a difference these things make. But anyways, long story short, if you can call them ahead of time, that's really cool. If they don't answer, at least send a personal text or email. Now, all communications should maintain consistency in message. The problem you solve, the benefits of solving it, and what makes you different than what they've tried before, because they've probably tried to solve this problem before. Meaning, back to here, whatever the core message is of your campaign and everything, like, that's why like I'm such a big believer in messaging and offer, right? Like all this other stuff stems and flows from your messaging and offer. If you have a great core message around the problem you solve, the benefits of solving it, and the differentiation, then positioning the call is going to be easier. Making the form attractive is going to be easier, right? Responding to leads is going to be easier and more effective, right? So make sure like that you're keeping a pretty consistent message across all the kind of communication and interaction points. And also, as far as anytime you want to improve messaging, just use Alex Hormozi's framework. This is a great framework, just a mental model, right? So increase the benefits or the dream outcome they're going to get. Increase the certainty they'll get it, like making them know is this going to work? Is this going to work for me? That can largely come from social proof, but it can also come from like showing them a very detailed process, right? If you show someone a very detailed process, they're going to feel like, okay, they've done this before, right? And it's going to work. It's proven, right? Decrease time delay, meaning, in this case, like it could be before the call, right? Mentioning the results they're going to get pretty quick, or at least even on the call, like that they're going to get value on the call. That decreases the time delay as well. And then decrease effort and sacrifice, right? So that's why you notice I said before that you want to tell people to research you, but only say like, I just tell people like on my thank you page, I'd say, look, just spend 5-10 minutes researching me. It's going to make a huge difference and answer a lot of your questions. Now I want them to spend hours researching us, but if I say spend hours, no one's going to do it. If I say 5 minutes, then they've started the task and now they're going to probably do more because they'll get lost in it, right? So it's more like kind of just trying to get people to get over that first hump and build momentum. But anyways, always position things in terms of Alex Hormozi's value equation. And if you don't know what that is, I recommend going to website acquisition.com and looking at his training on it or getting his book because it explains it in much greater detail. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this training. If you put all of these to work or even just like 20% of them, it's going to make a huge difference in your sales process. So I hope you have a lot of fun getting this implemented. Cheers. Hey, I'm AJ Casada, co-founder of Revenue Boost. Really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to leave me a comment and definitely subscribe right now so that you're notified of all the cool stuff we're doing, all the cool tactics, tips, and strategies that we share here on the channel. We help B2B companies scale to 7 to 8 figures. We've helped over 400 clients and we can help you too. And we share some amazing stuff on the channel here. So really hope you enjoyed. And if you do, let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe. All right, back to the video.